I want to end off this show talking about the coaching hires, and in particular, Kevin Stefanski and John Harbaugh. So before we unload here on the Kevin Stefanski hire by the Falcons, I haven't got your thoughts on the Giants hiring John Harbaugh. We did a coaching segment on the last show where we matched John Harbaugh to the Giants. So I want to know your thoughts about the move. Do you like it?
Oh, I think he brings legitimacy to the Giants. I think, his track record, number of games that he's won. I think that legitimizes the Giants from a coaching perspective, and I think that's something good for them. With Harbaugh and me, it's just this, 17 blown leads when you had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. That's on John Harbaugh's record as well, Leel. That's on his record. Not being able to get to the Super Bowl with a two-time and really should have been three-time MVP, that's on his record as well. And this is the other stat that you must understand. No coach in NFL history has taken a second team to win a Super Bowl. No coach, right? So I mean, I'm not saying that John Harbaugh is not going to win in New York. I think the Eagles are still going to be the Eagles. The Cowboys are going to be the Cowboys. The Redskins have Jaden Daniels. So it's a tough division. They know each other very well. So the hire gives them legitimacy. I just don't know, from game management to some of the controversial calls to the blown leads, what is John Harbaugh going to bring to the Giants that's going to make them this juggernaut? I don't see it.
You mentioned the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are going to be the Cowboys. Do you mean they're going to be in Cancun every January?
I mean that the Cowboys have the best offense in the football. And I think that if they get the right defensive coordinator and tweak that defense, you'll see a run by the Cowboys. Very easy fix for the Cowboys. They have players that schematically they struggled. And so I think that's what we're doing now. I hope that we get a defensive coordinator that's aggressive and not one of these zone friendly coaches. That's what I mean.
The Cowboys will have the best offense in the league, but they will be in Cancun. Similar. Yeah. But anyway, the Giants, on the other hand, I think it was a good hire. Say what you want about John Harbaugh and the blown leads and the whatnot, the constant reinvention and not getting a job done with the elite quarterback that is Lamar Jackson. You look at the previous Giants coaches, Joe Judge, Ben McAdoo, Brian Dable. They don't have the equity that Harbaugh has.
I agree.
Right? And flat out, they shouldn't even be mentioned in the same breath as a John Harbaugh. So again, that's an automatic coaching upgrade on paper. Harbaugh is going to come in to a young and hungry team and add some stability and culture. And I like that mesh because obviously you don't want John Harbaugh at this stage of his career to turn water into wine. You don't want that. I don't think that's that type of guy for that at this stage of his career. Okay. Granted, he came into a situation with the Ravens where they were like 6-11 or something to that extent. I believe they only won 5-6 games. So in that situation, he did turn water into wine. But you fast forward now, I think you want to go to a stable organization that has some talent that all you need to do is add the culture, build the culture, and add some stability. And I think that's exactly what he does with his special teams background. Hiring the right coaching staff is obviously going to be critical because they're the ones that's going to handle the X's and O's. He's going to be the CEO, which I would prefer him to be. So I think it was a good move for the Giants. And whether that translate into a championship, I'm not willing to go that far, but I do believe that he gives the franchise some stability. And again, you have to respect them being there. And, we'll see what happens and if he's able to mesh well with Jackson Dart and if he can take Jackson Dart's game to the next level. And more importantly, if that defense could take a leap because they've blown a lot of leads and they had a bad play caller. So we'll see how he hires his staff. But
last point I want to make on Harbaugh real quick, Leel, is who he hires as his coordinators is very, very important.
Oh, yeah.
Defensively, to get all of that aggression out of, Abdul Carter and Burns. They have the makings of a great defensive unit. I think they have to get some secondary upgrades. But the reports were that he did not want to fire Todd Monken with the Ravens. So it looks like he's going to bring Monken over possibly to be the offensive coordinator in New York. Remember this. Early on with Monken, he ran Lamar Jackson a lot. Jackson Dart likes to run. He doesn't know how to get down. That's a lot of punishment on Jackson Dart. So be very careful when you bring Monken in, how you tailor that. Because, look, Jackson Dart has had 3 concussions since he's been in the league, right? You got to watch that. He doesn't know how to slide and doesn't know how to get out of bounds. So all of these things, who you hire, who you bring on the staff is going to be important for John Harbaugh going forward.
And he could reinvent his Todd Monken could reinvent his philosophy like Greg Roman did. Remember when Greg Roman, who was a run guy, RPO, ran it with Colin Kaepernick and Lamar Jackson, all they did was run. When he was with Herbert the first year, Herbert wasn't running. He ran more this year a little bit because he had to. His line stunk it up. He had to run for his life. But he was a passing guy. They ran the football. And obviously he didn't require Justin Herbert to run as much. So if they can reinvent themselves and make sure Dart plays discipline and cautionary football and be there available so, he could quarterback the team, then they should be good. All right, I want to talk about Kevin Stefanski because the Falcons hired him, and there's a lot of backlash. I'm not surprised. I'll be lying if I said it was, because, I don't think it's a bad hire at all. I'm not surprised because I know how people are. Lee, you may think it's a bad hire. We're going to get your thoughts in a second. I'm going to play a couple videos. I might do it back to back, or I might play one.
Do it back to back. Go back to back.
Let's do it back to back, and then we'll get your thoughts. Let's start off right now. No, not that one. No, that one.
In Atlanta, I love our sports teams. I want nothing more than Atlanta to have successful sports teams as a sports fan that lives here. Unfortunately, these organizations are unserious as shit. Unfortunately, they don't take their job serious. They're just dicking around. They must be at Magic City late at night and make these decisions hungover as hell. Because they could not have chosen worse. What were you doing all them interviews for? I mean, the fact that the Atlanta Falcons made a decision that the Cleveland Browns also made just makes me upset. That alone just pisses me off. I am going to wear a Deion Sanders jersey to every single game this season. I want to be in a field suite on the field in a Deion Sanders jersey for every game this season because I want to remind that man. You couldn't have picked a worse person for the culture of this city. He better prove me wrong.
I'm going to play this other clip right now.
But nobody want this ugly ass nigga, bro. Man, get your ass on, bro. The Atlanta Falcons do not fuck with this city, bro. Y'all nigga went and did that, bro, on 32, bro. What the fuck, bro? All the shit you did to Shedeur, bro. We don't want your ass, bro. We want Shedeur, ugly ass nigga. The fuck? Then y'all don't went and got mad at the fucking VP. And this the first decision you gonna do, nigga? What the fuck?
All right. Let me cut that off before my mama hear it.
Okay? Right. We don't want the kiddies to hear it, but
yeah, exactly. Lee, I want to throw this to you. I have a question. And, to me, the fact that these people, the girl, the guy, DC Young Fly is the guy, so I know who he is, comedian. The other shorty, I don't know who she is from a can of paint. The fact that they use this situation to play the colorism game to me is, again, MLK Day, going back to the content of the character. To me, Kevin Stefanski was the second best coach available behind John Harbaugh. Now, if you don't agree with that from the eye test perspective, you could agree with that from a paper perspective. So the fact that we get people like these two people, come on, probably don't really know much about the game, probably just shooting it, like the woman, probably just shooting it, right? I know DC Young Fly is a comedian. That's what he's going to do. He's doing what he's supposed to do, make people laugh. I get it. I'm not really worried about his comments. But shorty that I played in the first clip probably don't know much about the game and is going to come out and use the Deion Sanders situation because the media has pumped up a narrative that Kevin Stefanski was actively sabotaging Shedeur Sanders. Now, granted, I don't believe that happened. What I do believe is that Stefanski had one of the hardest coaching jobs to do because of upper management and how Andrew Berry and company was handling that whole entire situation. And the fact that you have all these Dion disciples that was pushing this narrative about Stefanski taking it personal and self-sabotaging Shedeur, to me, is so idiotic and psychotic, because if he was sabotaging Shedeur, he was sabotaging his job. So to me, that doesn't make any sense. But the fact that these people would use that to justify their, I guess you could say, feeling of not accepting this higher than me is bogus. I'll pass the mic to you.
Well, I'll say this first, Leo. The last 2 years, Kevin Stefanski is 8-26. 8-26. Raheem Morris, on the other hand, was 16-18 and won his last 4 games of the season. Why do you replace Raheem Morris with Kevin Stefanski when Morris had the team on a trajectory? They finished tied for the division, right? It's not saying much. They all were like 8-9 or whatever the case may be, but he won his last 4. And Stefanski's coming in with a record of 8-26. That's what I want the audience to digest first, right? First, 8-26. Okay. Now, I get the fact. I don't think any coach self-sabotages themselves, right? I agree with you on that point. I certainly agree with you. But this is what I will say. Kevin Stefanski wanted Dillon Gabriel as his quarterback. There's no doubt about that. He drafted him in the 3rd round. He wanted Gabriel. He did not want to draft Shedeur Sanders. That was an Andrew Berry draft, right? Now, it played out the way Berry wanted it to. So in all of this whole season, did Kevin Stefanski coach and tailored what he wanted to do at the quarterback position more to his guy, Dillon? Yes, to the detriment, in my opinion, of the team. I think it's a detriment. I think if Shedeur played all season, the Browns would have won 8-9 games and been in a situation to look at the playoffs with the defense that they have. Now, the problem that Stefanski's going to have with Atlanta is whether he did or he didn't, the perception is that he sabotaged Shedeur Sanders, whether he did or it didn't. That's the perception. And the fact that Atlanta is an African-American city, the culture, the first time, and the fact that all of that culture supports Shedeur Sanders, that's going to be a problem for Stefanski if they don't come out winning right out of the block. You're going to see it often. You're going to see it quick. Now, Arthur Blank may have a long handle spoon with him. That's fine. You gave Raheem Morris 2 years, but there is going to be significant backlash if they don't win, and they don't win early for Kevin Stefanski. Now, I don't know how great of a coach he is, to be honest with you. The 2 Coach of the Year bids, he won 1 playoff game. So, I mean, I don't know. You tell me why was he the Coach of the Year over someone that took their team and went further. I don't know. We'll talk about that.
Those things are decided based off regular season.
Absolutely. But again, I didn't wasn't a great pick to me, but he has to win, and he has to win early, and he has the talent to do it. They have Bijan Robinson, they have Drake London, they have Pitts, they have an emerging defense. So he's inheriting a team that's in win now mode. And Arthur Blanks, you said that Raheem Morris didn't have the team on a trajectory to be successful. Well, they had won 4. The team was responding to his coaching. I don't know what else you needed to see from Raheem Morris. You brought Stefanski in. You better win early.
A couple of things, a lot of things. Number one, now this is where we disagree. Finally, right? It took 47 minutes for us to start disagreeing, right? Now, when you look at it, Stefanski won the Coach of the Year, especially year 1, because he came to a franchise that was not known for winning. They were not known for winning. Baker Mayfield the year before was under 500, and he came and Freddie Kitchens got fired. So they lost the coach. He was a brand new coach. He came to that organization that's not known for winning, and he turned it around and made them a playoff team that actually, that season he won it, went on to win the playoff game. That was their first playoff game that they won in about 2 decades plus. I think it was 30 years. It might have been 3 decades. So that's why he won Coach of the Year the first time. The second time, I don't remember that season. I don't remember who, was the other candidates and why they went with him. But I'm pretty sure it was a good pool of candidates. To win that award twice says something. That's not an easy award to win multiple times. You look at the candidates for this year's. I mean, I can't even pick it. You could go Ben Johnson. You could go Liam Cohen. You could go, a couple guys you can go from. That's how hard it is. So to win it twice, to me, says a lot about how the perception is about his coaching. But when we get to the Falcons and that city perception, they tie his handling of Shedeur. And a lot of these people don't watch the game. They don't know the game. They just want to rock out. Hey, yeah, Falcons, woohoo. They don't know nothing about the Falcons. Don't even know who their quarterback is, probably. But they just want to go with the vibe. You got people that just want to go with the vibe. Again, a comedian, and DC Young Fly. Very funny guy. Very funny guy. I watch him on Wild 'N Out. Okay? I'm not sure if he know about the Falcons like that. He just out there doing what he do, right? Again, now, your point about Raheem Morris, I definitely want to hit on that right now. Definitely. Okay? Exactly. It's what have you done for me lately? I agree with that part of it. It is, right? He won 2 coaches of the year. But anyway, about Raheem Morris, right? You look at him. The reason why he was fired was a couple of reasons, right? Number one, he was the one that decided to give Kirk Cousins that contract, him in partner with the GM, and draft Michael Penix. To me, that was fireable because that was a mess. That was always going to be a mess. But he did the worst coaching job for half of the season before they went on that 4-win streak. To me, I looked at the Falcons many times. I watched them. Now, I'm not a Falcons fan, so maybe there's Falcons fans, the ones that do watch the games, okay, and know what they're talking about. They probably know a little bit about the Falcons more than I do, but I've definitely watched them throughout the years. My job, I'm an analyst. I'm going to watch teams more than others and whatnot. But the games that I watch, the Falcons, to me, I looked at them like, yo, this is the worst coach football team in the NFL. They had one game that they actually won, okay? Salute to Kirk Cousins, right, in his heroics, where they had 19 penalties in the game for over 100 yards. That was a Thursday night football game against the Bucs, okay? 19 penalties for over 100 yards. They gave the Bucs 100 yards worth of penalties, and yet they won the game because of Kirk Cousins and his, heroics. That's why he was fired. He wasn't a good head coach. He's a brilliant defensive coordinator, but he's not a great head coach. He had a stint before in Tampa. We forget about that. He had his opportunity. It didn't work for him then, and it didn't work for him now. That's why he got fired. But so Leel, to play the race card and colorize this topic to me is a little bit dicey because it wasn't, we fired a black head coach just to hire a Caucasian one. No, we fired a coach that is not a very good head coach and hired a coach that is the only active coach along with Andy Reid to have won 2 coaches of the years in the actively coaching.
Yeah. Okay, Leel, and I respect that. First of all, shout out to Lonnie Stubblefield. What's up, Lonnie? Good to hear from you, brother. You say that, Leel, but Stefanski, who until Shedeur Sanders took over, they hadn't had a 300-yard passer. His coaching, and he's an offensive guru, but the offense struggled under Joe Flacco, struggled under Dylan Gabriel. He reluctantly, when he put Shedeur in there, the offense looked like an NFL offense, though. So you can't have it both ways. You say the penalties with him, with Raheem, but then you don't say the atrocious offense that Stefanski had in Cleveland. Now, let me give you one other thing that I think you have to look at. In Atlanta, you have Michael Penix coming off from knee. You have Kirk Cousins. Who will be Kevin Stefanski's quarterback? I read an article where Matt Ryan said they have a lot of confidence in Penix. Let me say this. Again, you look at the culture of the city. And that could go south very quickly on Kevin Stefanski if you make the wrong decision. Look, Kirk Cousins, we know what he is. I like him coming in relief, but Penix is your starter, but we'll see how that plays out. Look, I don't have anything against Stefanski. I just have to call it like it is. The guy was 8-26 in the last 2 years. Look at his last 5 years with the Browns and tell me what he's done. That's the last 4 years what he's done with Cleveland. Nothing. And so why does he get a pass and get another job when Raheem Morris actually had the team playing better, the Falcons, than Stefanski had the Browns? I don't see it.
Well, to be fair, Raheem Morris didn't win a playoff game. I don't believe they made the playoffs the 2 years.
They did not.
Stefanski won a playoff game. So, and he won 2 head coaches.
He didn't make the playoffs, though.
You know?
Why do we give him the pass for not making the playoffs with a worse record? And we say, well, Raheem Morris didn't make it, but he had a better record.
To be honest with you, when Kirk Cousins went to the Falcons, a lot of people predicted them to win the South. And they have not done that. So that's a bad thing. Now, to me, when we come back to this Shedeur narrative, again, that was a created narrative that was threw out there. Now, again, I'm not going to cry over spilled milk. If we want to have our opinions on the draft and the fall of Shedeur in the draft, that's one thing, right? If we believe that the NFL owners colluded to have him fall, that's a different conversation that we already beat the drum many times, right? But to create the next narrative of trying to separate, Shedeur and Stefanski and blaming it on Stefanski, to me, that's not always a logical move. Again, when you have DC Young Fly and the girl that's in the video that's coming out mentioning Shedeur and whatnot, who cares? And this is why we go back to the point that Perk made. I'm not sure if you heard of that, the hot take that Perk made that, Shedeur Sanders is the most powerful black man since Barack Obama, right? And at first I thought it was absurd that he said that. But then when I look at it, and I look at DC Young Fly and that girl and then, everybody else, I'm like, maybe he is. Maybe he is. Maybe it's something. To me, it's Dion. I think it's his father. But that's neither here or there. He's still part of the father, right? The legacy. And he's a quarterback. So you take the most popular position in the NFL that could be played, which is quarterback. You take the name of Sanders, and what do you get? We have a people that, obviously they want him to succeed. He's a black man, African-American. He's a quarterback. And, we love this father, and we want to see him succeed. That's natural. In the same ways that we want LeBron James, the son of LeBron James, to succeed, right? Even though there were people that came after us when we said, you know what? Well, guess what? He's not really a good basketball player. Oh, Leel, what are you doing? What are you saying? Came at me when I said, yo, he's not that good. Oh, Leel, that's because guess what? They love his father. LeBron James, one of the greatest of all time, even over MJ, even though it's not. Oh, yeah, he better than Michael Jordan, right? He's the GOAT, right? So guess what? We automatically love the son, right? When Mufasa was the king in The Lion King, and then you got Simba, who was the son of Mufasa. Simba! Okay, yeah, Simba. He's a new. That's what we do. So we doing the same thing with Shedeur, his father. Oh, we love his father. Prime time, okay? Coach Prime. And guess what? We love Shedeur. We want to see Shedeur succeed. But again, he fell in the draft. So that's indicative of how the league saw either his skill set,
I don't know about
his personality, or maybe they just didn't like him. That's neither here or there. They didn't like Colin Kaepernick either, right? But at the same time, when you come back to this Kevin Stefanski situation, if we just keep it football, okay, and we ignore narratives and what we think he did to Shedeur, even though that's not proven, and we come back to Stefanski as a head coach, he was the best coach the Falcons could have gotten, not named John Harbaugh. Because guess what? If John Harbaugh did not get fired and he was still the head coach of the Ravens, Kevin Stefanski would have been on the Giants right now, because that would have been their first choice.
I just don't think his body of work says that, Leel. I don't think his body of work the last 2 years, last 3-4 years, it says that. You might want to say it says it 5 or 6 years ago, but it doesn't say that now. So we're talking about now and what he's done And I made the comparison. I'm not going to go back and do it again, but I made the comparison of Raheem Morris. It doesn't say that now. What we have to understand is this. When black people feel that you've wronged somebody, and we all know this, Shedeur Sanders was not a fifth-round talent for whatever happened. And we talked about this ad nauseum. He wasn't a fifth-round talent, and no evaluator said it. His college stats don't say it. When you compare Shedeur Sanders and the Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza for Indiana, it's like night and day. Shedeur in all of the statistical categories is better than Mendoza his senior year compared to Mendoza's year. The talent was there. So when black people see that they've wronged somebody, we unite. Now, fast forward it, how good of a well-spoken of a kid he is, how he's embraced himself to the black community and the culture. He is one of the most powerful sports figures in America, Shedeur Sanders. And, of course, the Deion brand supports that as well. All I'm saying is this. Kevin Stefanski has a more difficult job than he can imagine getting the job at Atlanta, because black people, when you wrong one of the favorite sons, it's going to be brutal if they don't win. I'm telling you, it's going to be very brutal if they don't win right out of the gate. And I look forward to seeing it because it's going to be made for TV drama.
All right, Lee, my eyes, even though I'm younger than you, my eyes are not great. So if you want to,
I got it. Lonnie Stubblefield says that the culture is huge. Coming from a Seahawks fan, I saw via social media how Stefanski treated Shedeur after Shedeur first win. From the outside looking in, it's not a good look. I wouldn't want him as my coach. Atlanta is full of Shedeurs, and I, you know, for better or worse, a lot of people feel that way, Leel. And he's a Seahawks fan, and he's on the outside looking in. And again, think about all of the people that you see at the Falcon games. Oh, it's predominantly black in there. And so he's going to get a hard time if they don't come out.
It's just a bunch of conspiracy theories.
I'm telling you that.
It's just a bunch of conspiracy theories.
That's not conspiracy.
That's what it comes down to. He look at him, he call a wrong play. Oh, he tried to sabotage him.
I don't know about all that.
Sabotaging Shedeur is sabotaging your job. Okay, I'm pretty sure he liked this job. Okay.
But what I do know is this: he preferred Dillon Gabriel. He gave Gabriel a longer rope. He did not want to acknowledge Shedeur or give him reps. That, my friend, is fact. That's not conspiracy theories. That's fact. Now, I don't think he wants to lose once he put Shedeur in there. But how he treated Shedeur as far as wanting Dillon Gabriel over him, that's real talk. And those are facts that can't be debated because he did that. We saw it. And so that's part of it too.
All right, look.
And the people saw it.
Look. I'm done with the conspiracy talk, okay? Because it's only gonna make me start banging on this table. All right, because to be honest with you, I'm not buying it. Now, if we want to, the conspiracy of the draft is one thing, right? That's something that I'm willing to listen to. Matter of fact, I'm not, because I already listened to it so many times back then, right? But I was willing to hear it out, right? Because obviously, with that fall, it was more than about football. Now, whether it was about his personality and how the meetings went, or whether it was just an outright, I'm not feeling him and his father, that's one thing. That's debatable. But it was more than football. I agree with that, right? Now, it may be a little bit different, but it could be to say, again, it wasn't about football.
Can I ask you a question, Leel? Can I ask you a question?
Go right ahead.
Do you feel that Stefanski favored Dillon Gabriel, and by him favoring Gabriel, it hurt the development of Shedeur Sanders? Do you feel that's an accurate statement?
What I think happened is I think GM Andrew Berry drafted 2 quarterbacks in the same draft, which to me was malpractice. You don't do that. You do not take 2 quarterbacks.
What if you think the one you drafted later was better than the one you drafted earlier?
And I think what happened was because they drafted Dillon Gabriel earlier, he was told to play Gabriel. Right, because obviously he's the higher pick, so it's only natural that you're not going to take. You're not going to take. Well, collaboration. You're not going to take. Let's say we play football. You're not going to take me before you, right, and then expect you to start. It's not. That don't make no sense.
You start the best player, Leel. That's what if you're an organization.
Well, you draft the best player too.
Let me
You
give you an
draft the
example.
player who you think is the best player. Clearly,
Let me
they
give
thought
you an
that was
example.
Dylan Gabriel.
Can I give you an example? Lonnie is a Seahawks fan, so I'm going to use Lonnie Stubberfield's team. Seattle signed Matt Flynn to an extensive contract, leaving Green Bay to come and be the starter. They signed him to be the starter in Seattle. They drafted Russell Wilson in the 4th round.
I remember that.
He played better in preseason, and Pete Carroll started Russell Wilson. You play the best
let me
player.
stop you right
and
there. Let me stop you.
It's clear.
Let me stop you.
Clearly,
Russell Wilson played better in preseason.
Huh? Say it again.
Russell Wilson played better in preseason. That was a difference.
He did. Absolutely.
Shedeur got injured in preseason.
It doesn't matter. You didn't even give Shedeur a chance to earn the job coming by not giving him reps in preseason, not giving him reps with the starters or the second team. You had him playing with fourth team. You didn't set him up to even evaluate him. He wasn't even practicing during practice. So you didn't even set him up. So that part of it, Leel, that's unapproachable. That is true. This is what Stefanski did. Now, I don't buy the theory that, you didn't want him to succeed when he started. I don't buy that.
Do you think Stefanski wanted Deshaun Watson when they gave him that $230 million contract, knowing everything that was going on with the civil suits and whatnot? Do you think that was a Stefanski decision, or do you think that was a GM Andrew Berry decision?
Well, I think that decision was driven more by Haslam, because at the time, Deshaun Watson was one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, let me say this about.
So did he sabotage Deshaun Watson, or did Deshaun Watson sabotage himself by going to the massage parlor and getting all types of women filling up on him, and he doing what he doing?
That was before they even drafted. They knew that coming in. But let me say this. Kevin Stefanski with Deshaun Watson, again, adapt your offense to the player that you have, right? Stefanski didn't do the things that Watson did well, and then Watson got hurt. Now, you factor injuries in here. He was hurt every year. That's part of it too. I don't know. That was more of a Jimmy Haslam thing, because Deshaun Watson was a top 5 quarterback at the time. So there was a bidding war for him. So circumstances happened with that. But you have to hear what I'm saying with this Shedeur Sanders thing. I would never say that you would sabotage. Winning matters in the NFL. Every week it matters. They want to win. But how he treated Shedeur in the whole process, there's some validity to that, Leo. You cannot dismiss that.
I mean, look, I would say this. In regards to the race stuff, the race politics and whatnot, to me, when the Falcons hired Raheem Morris, I thought it was a good hire. Maybe I was in the minority. They had the opportunity to hire the greatest coach of all time, and Bill Belichick. We thought it was a done deal. We thought that was going to happen. Right. And they opted to move away from the greatest coach of all time to hire Raheem Morris, which I agreed with, believe it or not, because I thought that Bill Belichick, although his resume was one thing, to me, he outplayed his hand. To me, I thought he just wasn't adapting to the new modern game, the same way I felt about Mike Tomlin. Okay. So I was like, you want to hire the younger guy, a guy that has player relations. He's very known for that. Players love playing for him and whatnot. He's going to be a recruitment type of guy that guys are going to want to play for, which proven to be correct. All the defensive players went over there and signed there that same offseason. I thought that was a slam dunk hire. But it didn't work out. Okay, whether it was the OC, I thought he hired the wrong guy. He didn't hire the guy that fit with the quarterback. First of all, we didn't know what quarterback he wanted to go with. Was it Kirk Cousins? Was it Michael Penix? Right? Because in Kirk Cousins' style really doesn't fit Zach Robinson's get out and move. You got a guy coming off an Achilles injury. So much things is happening, right? And then on top of that, they were the worst coach team in football. So to me, the firing was justified.
I don't see it.
I don't think playing the race game when they hired a black coach to fit the coaching mold of Atlanta, it just didn't work out. So again, they hired the best coach on the market, to me. And if you don't agree with that with your eyes, you can agree with that with the paper. And I don't know why people are using.
Well, I don't agree with it because they finished tied for first place. It was a three-way tie for first place. So they're no better or worse than any other team in that division. And you're looking at a coach that's only been there 2 years. Look at the Jets. By all considerations, Leel, the Jets should fire Aaron Glenn. They're not, because 1 year doesn't make a coach. Why do you sign these coaches to 5-year contracts? Because you do it. Look at Mike Vrabel, 1 year. But they didn't do the same thing for Gerard Mayo that they did for Mike Vrabel. They spent astronomical amounts of money.
Now they didn't do that was a setup. That was a setup. I agree with that. I think they railroaded. That I agree with.
Look, that's what they do. This is what these owners do. And look, I don't play the race car. I call things like I see it. But just because when I call it like I see it, if there's a racial component in it, I'm going to point it out. Why does Raheem Morris get 2 years into his 5 years, but you give Stefanski all of this time and he still didn't produce a winner because it only went downhill?
Honestly, I really do think that, and this is my opinion, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be very honest. I mean, not that I haven't been,
your honesty,
but I'm going to be very honest. I believe that the firing was not about winning 4 games straight, right? I don't believe that. I believe that the firing was something else. Just like Brian Flores, who won 4 or 5 games straight before he got fired as Miami head coach. I believe that firing was because he just didn't gel well with Tua, and they chose Tua.
I agree with that. I agree with that in Miami. I agree with that.
I believe that the reason why Raheem Morris was fired was because his input and power that he had, where he drafted Michael Penix and gave Kirk Cousins that contract.
There's some validity to that. There's some validity.
I don't believe it was the 4 straight, because I thought the 4 straight was good enough to bring him back. Even though with all I said about him being a coach that I thought they were the worst coach team as far as the flags they accumulated in games. I've seen it so many times. I said, you know what? 4 straight wins. Maybe he did enough to save his job. Barely, but I think he did. But that, to me, is why he got fired.
I agree with that. No, I agree.
I don't think there's no conspiracy there.
I think. But Leel, having Kirk Cousins as the backup. Now, remember one thing: Michael Penix is on his rookie contract, so you can absorb both of those contracts in Atlanta. Now you're going to have to make a decision really quickly, like next year, or whether you want to extend Penix, but you can absorb both of those contracts. I think having Cousins as a backup actually was a good thing. But you're absolutely right. I do think that's why he was let go more than the wins and losses, because I watched that team. I watched Atlanta, one of my favorite teams to watch because of Bijan Robinson. And those players played for him down the stretch. It was not like he lost the team or they didn't want to play. They played for Raheem Morris and they won. Mm-hmm. And so it was something bigger than that. And I think they had a lot to do, which I don't think.
And look, I'm going to be honest with you, and I hate to make it not about football. I really do. But there were things that Raheem Morris did to me that I was like, really? Like, for example, that game where they had the 9 penalties for over 100-something yards. They won the game, right? Yeah, sure. You win the game, right? But to be celebrating, looking at the camera, doing that, yeah. Really?
Sports, politics, conspiracy theories. We are here to give you our unique perspectives on things happening in the world. It's the one and only, The Real Leel on The Real Leel Show.